Hello and welcome to Jake Reads Comics. This week's episode, we have a special episode. It's a DVD commentary or film commentary. This week's episode will be a commentary on Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, Part 1. So, if you're looking at the screen right now, I'm at the menu screen. I'm about to hit play. Hitting play right now. So the DC Universe, or I guess Warner Brothers, has adapted many DC perennial books in terms of animated features. I happen to like the Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2 very much. Here we got the Warner Brothers logo. Batman Year One's another good one. Some other ones, mixed results. But this is them adapting Crisis. I believe Crisis has already, or I know it's been the WB. I don't know if there's any other adaptations of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Of course, you got the classics like Crisis on Earth 1, Crisis on Earth 2, but we got what reset the DC universe in the 80s, and but the filmmakers did state that this is more a Flash movie, but I guess what's kind of puzzling to me and kind of the marketing is again the title Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, and we got this title screen still going for quite a bit here, kind of AI-ish. And based on characters from the DC. Still going. It's a lot of varying, just different spheres and earths and kind of fractal shapes. But want to kind of treat this with an open mind. Alright, cool. We got the Flash. And we do know from our Crisis on Infinite Earths, the text that's adapted from Flash does his warning does kind of kick things off, and his sacrifice does play a big role. But this was supposed to be a little more Flash centric. So yeah. This will kind of bookend things. It's kind of puzzling. It's very clear terms of protagonist, that the Flash is the protagonist in this film. But what's you never really quite learn who's the antagonist, and that'll be kind of clear as we keep watching this thing. So when she repeats the order or states what his order is, I wondered if there was an English writer on this script because that does strike me as kind of, I don't know, like either Irish or Scottish or English. Sausage, peas, and French fries, or I guess they would say chips. That did strike me as some kind of like British or Irish or that kind of region of the world. The British Isles like to type pub food or pub fare. So they do get this right. This is kind of one of the highlights of the film. Is kind of the relationship of Barry Allen and Iris West. But again, it's supposed to be an adaptation of Crisis on Infinite Earths. It's a Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths. But so it wouldn't be as puzzling, and I guess I don't want to beat a dead horse during the course of this whole thing, but like maybe title the film Flash Crisis on Infinite Earths. But I don't want to kill the film, because these kind of moments are kind of, they get this right, and it's kind of nice. And we got kind of a unique kind of art design that we haven't seen in all the films. So that's kind of nice about the DC animated films, the last few films. They're trying different art styles to varying degrees, but hey, you like people trying new things. I do like the design for Amazo. I don't know, is this the contemporary or latest Amazo? Um, this is not really an iteration of Amazo I'm familiar with, and if this is not drawn straight from the books, I like the chance they took. So this is kind of something that I came to this film for, and frankly, I wish we got more of this. Hey, we got Amazo, we got Superman. That it's Crisis on Infinite Earths. I want to see a lot of characters, a lot of Earths. Um, but we're still on the same Earth. Oh, we got some cool action. But we're about 5 minutes in, or we're over 5 minutes in, and we're still on the same Earth, and we met our Barry Allen, our protagonist. We got one of the supporting characters, obviously a main supporting character, Superman, and we got Amazo, who I guess he is a antagonist, but really not. He's more an obstacle, or even maybe a foil character. He's not the overall, definitely not the overall. This is supposed to be a trilogy of films. This is part one. There's supposed to be a part two and part three. Part three concluding uh, the series or trilogy. These two coming out this year. But Amazo is definitely not the overall antagonist of this trilogy, and I wouldn't even say this film. He just kind of gives us, it moves the plot along, but not really the overall plot. Kind of weird. There's kind of more than one plot going on here. We got kind of the Amazo and Dr. Ivo and Lex Luthor thing, and then we have the actual plot of Crisis on Infinite Earths. The actual crisis that's happening to these infinite Earths. So one of the better parts of this movie as well are the depiction of Green Arrow. Some depictions of Green Arrow are kind of Batman dressed like Robin Hood, but they should be distinct characters, and I think this film does a good job of giving, Green Arrow his kind of distinct attitude and what sets him apart from the other wealthy masked vigilante in the DC universe. So obviously Bruce and Ollie know each other. They go they're in the same travel in the same circles. Wealthy wealthy citizens of America. So we got Flash moving through time, which is in Crisis on Infinite Earths. But do they ever explain it fully in this film of why or what's causing him to, you know, things that are very clear in the comic, they kind of really, drag on. We're 8 minutes in, and he's traveling through time, but once again, we're in still the same Earth. Like, I feel bad just, crapping in this movie's mouth, because it is fun and it's cool. We got Constantine here. But so, yeah, our kind of plot device is Barry traveling through time and different eras in his life. But I don't know. Doesn't quite never quite works for me. So we got kind of a early traumatized Robin. That's kind of interesting choice they go with because we're kind of used to the Robin that kind of brings light and joy to kind of Batman's life, and so we kind of see a Robin that's early on. So this is kind of one of the, I think, unfortunately, one of the few scenes that we kind of lay some groundwork that will uh, pay off later on in the film. And that's, I guess, without, part two and part three haven't been released yet, that maybe there will be things in those films that will kind of recontextualize or add to some of the shortcomings in this film and make it kind of more a holistic thing and more enjoyable kind of in retrospect. However, those films aren't out yet, so you really got to take this on its on what it is as a unit, as a single film. It is a film that's the first act of a three-act story, but they're releasing it as its own thing. So I mean, that's kind of the tightrope they have to walk, the needle they got to thread. But it is what it is. Don't tell me about the pain, just show me the baby. You got the guys trying to market it as a standalone film. That's also the first part of a third act. So again, we're 11 minutes in, we're bouncing around different time eras. So one of the things this film kind of gives us, which is an interesting choice, is it gives us the origins of the Justice League, and we're kind of seeing the start of that now. Um, but one would assume if someone's seeing this film, they're probably kind of familiar with the concept of the Justice League, and even if they weren't, you kind of pick up on it kind of quick. I think that it certainly is a choice to have this both be a Flash film, an Justice League origin film, and an adaptation of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Um, it's got a 90-minute runtime, so but there's three of them, so they do have some time to kind of tell all these stories. But I don't think it's to the benefit of at least this film. And I guess you got this Dr. Ivo plot as well, so you got a lot of plots here. I wonder, very much watching this the first time, now watching this now again, how many people went into the writing of this film, and even if there weren't multiple writers writing, maybe many multiple iterations or drafts, perhaps a lot of studio notes, and the writer took all the notes, because I think that could sometimes be an issue if you're trying to be a team player and you're very amenable, but you're getting a lot of either wacky notes from an executive or maybe multiple notes multiple people that are all they could all be on their own good notes, but when you add them together, it kind of it doesn't work out. I mean, it does do a good job if the idea of the Stanley idea. Everyone's comic book is, or every comic book is someone's first comic book. In terms of a film or animated adaptation, this this film does. If this was your first, and we're totally unfamiliar with these characters, these concepts, you could watch this film and I feel follow it pretty well. So I think that's something that this film does do exceedingly well, and that is not so simple in terms of something that adapts source material that's all about deep DC continuity, like decades of continuity, um, and a lot of characters. This film does pretty good job of, like it was just say the line with Bruce saying this will help you better than the I don't know, his coffee or tea he's drinking, explaining how Superman's powers work, that he has power, he converts the energy of the sun. So we got the assembling of the team, which is always one of my favorite parts of a film. Is, assembling the crew. So if it's like a heist film or anything where you kind of need a team of people, I do like the montage of assembling the team. So Armageddon's another example of that. That's one of my favorite parts of the film. You gotta assemble the team. The music, it's good music, and this was a choice as well, going with Green Lantern, and who is your Green Lantern? You go with Hal or not? So, I thought it was interesting with this, the choice that, having Hal kind of being a dick and not wanting to join the League, is maybe that's how you would get a Guy Gardner or a John Stewart, or maybe an Alan Scott that, so, while I was beating this movie up, it does have its moments, and maybe I was being a little too hard on it, being a little too serious. Um, I mean, we're still not. So now we're about 17, 18 minutes in, and still we're not introduced to the crisis. So I think that's one of the film's problems. We have this flash plot or fully flash plot device that isn't really super well integrated to the crisis. Or the whole Michigas with the anti monitor and the anti monitor wave and all that stuff is because it's what I spoke about earlier, is you got all these multiple Earths. So at least we're finally at a different Earth. You want to see the different Earths and the different versions of the heroes, or in this case we got the crime syndicate. So I do like that they because that was in the early like Crisis on Earth 1, Earth 2, like those kind of annuals that they would do, those crossovers in the Silver Age. The Crime Syndicate was pretty early on in those Gardner Fox comics, which if people aren't familiar with, I highly recommend. Um, where the Justice League and Justice Society of America would cross over. So it would be like an annual summer thing, and I believe like maybe it was the second or third one, definitely by the fourth one, the Crime Syndicate, from I believe it's Earth 3, whatever the evil Earth is, but early on in Crisis, we go to that Earth because we see the antimatter wave and destroying Earths, and this is kind of one of the early ones. So if someone's familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earth, you're like, all right, we're moving along in here. We're gonna get to this crisis finally. Like we're getting into the plot, but no. And we spend this is another group of characters that I want to see a lot of Earths, a lot that we spend. It's a Flash movie and a crime syndicate movie. They really feature heavily. She's good. The crime syndicate, it busts the movie's chops, but it's a good depiction of them, which is a lot of it. Oh, now we have the forming of. So we got, we're moving through time, the big moments of Flash's life, and this is, if someone's challenge of the Super Friends and whatnot, even though this is definitely from the comics as well, I think the lovers of the cartoon will dig this Hall of Justice. Even Flash is apparently the one who names the Justice League. Real Flash centric, because you could have a film where Flash is perhaps, or not perhaps, our protagonist, or your point of view character. But like it's really, he's the guy that names the Justice League. It's really, you push it. You're really pushing the Flash here, Oh, you had an S there. It's just say Justice Society. And that, why did Superman dodge that? He's Superman. You're going to see him catch this. Probably of all the choices in the film, that kind of bugged me the most. Cool, you see Martian Manhunter turn intangible. So Amazo's, like I said, I dig Amazo in this film, but a lot of Amazo, which is cool. It is a cool depiction, but again, I feel bad just harping on it. I don't want to keep repeating myself. If it wasn't a Crisis on Infinite Earths movie, if it was kind of a Flash and Amazo movie, I think this would be a cool flick. Like, I feel like they did themselves a disservice of trying to adapt in the fashion they chose, especially when they're known for making pretty faithful and pretty cool adaptations of famous DC storylines. we're 24 minutes in, still no crisis, no anti-monitor. We're still dealing with Mazo. We got Luther. And while my personal kind of, if I had my druthers, I'd be going for the Bronze Age Luther battle suit, but the purple and green joint. But this is an interesting, I guess, battle suit. I feel bad just pooping in this movie's mouth. But it's not a bad design, and it's an original design. Cool on them. I believe it's an original design. Not super up to date on broad strokes. I try to keep up, but I don't read that many new Superman comics, to be perfectly frank. But I believe this is looks like the Luther battle suit is designed for these comics or this film. So we got the Satellite and the Hall of Justice, so that's cool. But I mean, it's Crisis on Infinite Earths. It'd be nice if you saw the Hall of Justice on one Earth, and then the Justice League Satellite on another Earth. Maybe we got a very cartoon, Super Friends accurate one with the the Wonder Twins hanging out or something. That's kind of foreshadowing, right? That nice relationship with Mazo and the Flash. I did enjoy their interaction, but not really what I wanted out of my Crisis adaptation. I guess that's part of the problem, is the expectation. What the title of the film is, what my expectations were. There are things about it I like. This is cool looking, right? There's definitely some positives. When I first saw it, I thought this was the Justice League Satellite, but then we realized it's the Monitor ship. Oh, I was wrong. So I'm sorry. It's the Crime Syndicate's satellite. Oh no. Shame on me. I believe that was the Monitor ship, and now we are in the tower that is the Crime Syndicate's kind of Hall of Justice, but it's a kind of an ominous kind of tower, kind of evil corporate overlords live in a massive tower of steel and glass and whatnot. So again, the Crime Syndicate stuff, it's good. It's just it's quite a bit where it'd be nice if we saw a lot of different iterations or Earths. Because again, it's infinite Earths, not not a half dozen Earths, not a gaggle of Earths, not a couple of Earths. It's infinite Earths. Oh, Ultraman's got he does have an evil haircut. I like that touch. He's got he's in the tower. He's got the Gordon Gekko haircut. I don't think these are accidents, and that's the choices. Some of the choices I like. Um, this depiction of Superwoman is very. I enjoyed her quite a bit. I like a powerful woman. Read that into that as much or as little as you want about me, but or just the fact, I did enjoy this depiction of the crime syndicate Superwoman. I thought that was she's one of my more favorite parts of this film. Making Constantine like a kind of homeless, like vagrant guy is kind of a weird choice, to be honest. I wouldn't go so far as to say it's problematic, but it is kind of make him kind of like this homeless vagrant drifter hobo dude. It's a it's a choice. It's a choice. I guess, and making art or storytelling, it's a lot about making choices. Oh, finally, we're getting a taste of many Earths, multiple Earths. So we're 30 minutes in. At least we got a little Wally West there. Oh yeah, we really spending a lot of time. Flash's personal timeline. We could call it Flash Crisis on Infinite Earths. Flash's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Is that a Justice League? Uh, I, I appreciate the little the Jay Garrick nod. There would be a time in my life where that would be super exciting. To give a little context to that, I believe was it Batman Forever, the Nicole Kidman character, was it Dr. Chase Meridian just mentions Metropolis in the beginning of the film, and there was audible gasps in the theater. People are spoiled nowadays with these interconnected universes and all the different characters we've seen get feature film and animated feature adaptations. So that doesn't give me just mentioning Jake Garrick may not give people. That's nice. But there was a period of time when that would be a big deal. So Dr. Ivo and Amazo again, a big part of this plot. I'm really the only reason I'm gonna see part two, part three to see if these kind of plot lines that don't seem to have significance to the original Crisis on Infinite Earths pay off in some way. They're like it's like Chekhov's Amazo, or the idea. You see a gun in the first act, get fired by the end of that film. What's the point? Showing it to somebody. This is an interesting. I don't believe that was Dr. Ivo's original intention, or has that ever been intended for making a Mazo, that a robot that will prolong human life. Eh, it's a choice. A robot to. It seems that if you could develop something, a mechanism to supercharge the immune system, you would not need to make a superpowered android um, to be able to execute that device. But what do I know? I do like that part. The idea that the Amazo only wants to help. You know. And we see different Earths, but they're just we don't see how they're different. We don't see the different versions of the heroes. Instead of an well, I guess in the original adaptation before the antimatter wave, you see the weather going crazy. And now back to the crime syndicate. I guess the idea is that instead of short snippets of various different Earths and different different variations on the DC universe characters throughout the years and continuity, that you kind of have a select few you concentrate on, and there's kind of more emotional weight there. That if especially if you're not overly familiar with the source material of the DC universe, that who are these people? You have no emotional investment. So I guess they're trying to build in some emotional investment, but it's not something I think you're coming to this. You already have that kind of context, but like I said, that is something they do well. Where if you had no context, that you could definitely watch this film and understand everything going on and enjoy it. Like I said, I think that's kind of perhaps the logic behind some of these choices, like spending so much time with the crime syndicate, that to give allow the viewer to know there is multiple Earths, as in the title, quote unquote, infinite Earths, but we want to build some type of connection, so when if they succeed or not, we do feel we do feel for them, as they say, movies are an empathy machine. So, and as reprehensible as they are, I do like that kind of just the design for the display. It's kind of a little bit generic, but still cool. It's a cool heads-up display. I wanna, try to mention nice things, and not just for the sake of, I'm not making up, just saying things that are legitimately good about the film. I'm giving this film grief, but people worked really hard on it, and there are a lot of neat things about it. Batman apparently has a tablet in his utility belt. Never leave the Batcave without your iPad Mini. Oh, it's a pretty good Lex. Obviously, you got all these characters that we're spending some time with, a good deal of time with. You couldn't have certainly couldn't have an Alexander Luthor, so I don't begrudge them that one bit. So I know Amazo has the ability to copy the Justice League's power, but I wasn't familiar with that he has like the powers of the Parasite, where he could drain. I wonder if there was previous drafts of this film that involved the Parasite. We're 40 minutes in and we still haven't really got to the crisis. Where so this it's fun to get the battle scene, and maybe you know as a middle-aged man, I've seen a lot of superhero battles in my day. So maybe if I was younger and this was a little more novel, like maybe if I was 7, knock my socks off this kind of battle with the Lex Luthor battle suit and Amazo and the Justice League. But I'm like, to be frank, it's kind of like, can we move this along, people? Where's the monitor, the anti-monitor? Because I guess, I try to, obviously I want to give my honest thoughts and opinions in this commentary, but at the same time, I want to take into account that this film is not just made for people like myself who are very familiar with superhero comics, familiar with DC Comics, familiar with Crisis on Infinite Earths. That this they are out there to make money, so they want for more people to watch this than just the people who have read the comic series, the Maxi series they're adapting. So I do understand a lot of their choices, and I want to give them grace on that. Watch it, from that context. And also, I think, every generation deserves their stories, and in the end, these are like DC superheroes, and their characters are licensed for children's cartoons and Underoos and action figures and toys. That really, what's important, I'd like to know what was like an 8 or 10-year-old think about this movie. If it blows their hair back, mazel tov, more power to them, Um, so I think that's kind of important too. I don't want to be too cynical about these things. Now at this point, 40 somewhat minutes in, I'm starting to feel kind of bad for the movie. I'm like apologizing for the movie. Um, and this part was effective for me. I don't want to be cynical. I try not to be overly so. That Mazo's bummed out. This part, this kind of, this worked for me here. But I mean, I think we had cut a lot of stuff before this. This film is kind of pulling taffy here. I wonder if maybe they wanted to break into the 3 and they didn't have enough script and they kind of just tacked stuff on from like other maybe scripts they had laying around, or who knows what that process was. But it's almost, I don't know, you know where there's quite a bit of film or quite a bit of story that doesn't seem to have much to do with the central plot of Crisis on Infinite Earth. It seems to be about crisis on like less than half a dozen Earths. Flash and the Amazo. This should be, and that's it makes me wonder: was this for a different project, and they needed to add minutes? 'Cause I dig the Flash and Amazo, and then Amazo's like just a robot head later on. I enjoy all that. It just seems to be frankly, it seems to be like a different from a different story, a different movie. It's like multiple movies going on at once, and I think one can make that work, but doesn't quite work in this film. And I think it's something that's kind of hard to pull off, to be perfectly frank. Um, the robot loves his father. And that's how I describe it: his progenitor, his creator. Barry Allen and Amazo. This it should be DC. If anyone from Warner Brothers DC, like Warner Brothers Publishing DC Comics, I think you guys can do things with the Amazo Flash combo. That's showing promise. Or just some type of AI in general, or like you got Skeets from what's not guy what's the guy from the future? Booster Gold. Yeah, Booster Gold's buddy Skeets. There's other AIs floating around the DC universe. We got foreshadowing. And boom. Now we got old man Flash. So I guess he's moving through time, but I think these are also different Earths. I don't think it's the same Earth on a timeline. So I guess like Old Man Flash and Wedding Flash and Justice League Flash. I don't think it's moving through the same timeline of the same Earth. I think they're at different times on different Earths. I believe. I think that's going to make it more clear with the tuning forks later. However, I don't know. Again, it makes it kind of convoluted. Kind of weird to say something like Crisis on Infinite Earths convoluted. I got sausage, peas, and fries. Again, I really feel like one of the writers, somewhat a producer, is someone British or Irish or something, because fries are chips, as I guess they would call it, peas and sausage. That does strike me as some type of as pub fare. Maybe a nice Guinness to go with that, perhaps. I'm more. I would like maybe some shepherd's pie or fish and chips. But I'm no stranger to some good pub food. Yeah, I have to say this depiction of Barry Allen, um, it's a million times better than and no slight to So, Ezra Miller. They're a fine actor, but I don't know if it's writing or maybe not the best casting, but not a huge fan of Ezra Miller's Barry Allen. That's something I think this film gets right is you know this Barry Allen. Did not know that Vixen is can marry people. She justice of the peace. You know, I happen to be a reverend in the Universal Life Church. I can officiate marriages, but I didn't know. Is that the canon from the from DC Comics? I mean, not that I care either way, but I think that's a nice touch that Vixen happens to be a marriage officiant. You know, it could be a side gig for her. You know, who knows? Does the Justice League even pay? You know, so does she have to have kind of like a side hustle? 49 minutes, and we finally 50 minutes, and we see Harbinger for the first time. You know, if you're someone who's read Crisis on Infinite Earths before, you know the Harbinger is kind of works for the Monitor and kind of is the one who assembles all our heroes. So finally, about 50 minutes in, we are finally introduced to the quote unquote crisis that's affecting all the Earths. Um, So finally, this is what I'm coming to this film for. All these different heroes from different Earths. So, you know, there's a Firestorm, Uncle Sam, Obsidian, the Ray, Black Lightning. This is what I'm coming to Infinite Crisis on Infinite Earths for. We're seeing this. We gotta go through like 50 somewhat minutes of movie for this. And also, it's never really explained why now all the Earths are kind of visible to each other, kind of in this sharing this same space. So that you know the Robin, Batman stuff does kind of pay off and set this up. We got the Creeper. You know, so you know that's kind of cool, but we barely Challengers of the Unknown, but we barely we don't none of them have lines. You know, so that's kind of the I don't know. I mean, I could venture that there's reasons for those choices that they kind of don't want to overwhelm the viewer, but I would have liked, you know. I like that we get the Huntress in here, and this is a character that I think is never recovered from Crisis on Infinite Earths in terms of popularity. That it's a cool costume design. I don't know in this iteration what's going on with her headdress, but in general, it's kind of a cool costume design. Maybe a little dated at this point, but her not being the daughter of Batman and Catwoman after Crisis. I mean, I think that hurt the character. That's a cool. The idea that in some future timeline we got this lady, the Huntress, running around, Batman and Catwoman's daughter, is pretty cool. So that's kind of you know, there's a lot of characters who they're. There we got Zatanna, but again, not even moving or talking. It's a static Zatanna. We got men. They're not even moving. They don't look like they're breathing. It's we got the Swamp Thing. At least the Firestorm is animated, but they're not even moving. Just got this static pan. You know, Psycho Pirate, who plays a integral role in the original. We don't know what he's doing. It's cool that we have so many Ditko characters. You know, Captain Atom in the background. We got the Question. It's Crisis on Infinite Earths. We still haven't met the Monitor yet. He's the kind of the ultimate antagonist. It does seem like they kind of, I don't know if they're watching the Avengers or Infinity War, but it seems kind of they're taking a page out of Marvel's book in terms of, we're not going to show you Thanos to the end. So I guess this is kind of their Avengers, but also the when we get to the ending, we got a very Infinity War ending, but that's not really kind of set up at all. This was another puzzling choice that they chose to be so. This is one part they totally had chose to be faithful to is, we got to get the new Dr. Light that came out of Crisis. But I guess I gotta wait to see part 2 and 3 if it pays off. There's a lot of stuff you're left thinking, will it pay off? It could pay off. Psycho Pirate does seem like they're foreshadowing something, and he does play an important role in the original in the source material. This was an interesting choice, combining Harbinger and Supergirl. I guess Supergirl's an important part of Crisis. So is Harbinger, but maybe combining gave her more to do. I mean, I think it's a product of having so much unrelated stuff. Finally, we have we see the Monitor, and he's kind of got his own skeets. Apparently, since what I don't remember that part in he's like the Watcher and never interfere. So we're close to an hour, and finally we meet the Monitor, and he tells us about the antimatter wave and the Crisis. I'm baffled that we had to wait an hour for this. This is all stuff. This should be at the beginning. This is the whole thing. It's like we have an hour of before we really get into it's like a prolonged prologue, and he's really it's tell not show. That anti-monitor wave. That's how you meet the crime syndicate and the source material. It immediately shows you what the Ultraman flying into that antimatter wave shows you what's going on, kind of very early on. This is a fun scene with the suit just kind of dribbling out. Iris standing by her man. This is that's cute. That's sweet. This is kind of something that was at the beginning of the comic, and I'm not saying you have to be slavish to the source material. I know earlier in this commentary I was praising the animated adaptations that are faithful adaptations, But that's no meaning you have to be Marvel Comics, James Bond films. There's many um, Kubrick's The Shining that you don't have to. There's many examples of cinematic adaptations, whether live action or animated, that aren't slavishly faithful, and sometimes and oftentimes it can be to the betterment of the project. Films are different from novels, from comics. As Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. Even this, part where in the original he delivers that little monologue that's pretty inspiring, and then he flies into the antimatter wave. This version, he kind of does that. We have that scene, but he didn't really fly into it yet. It's far, far, far away. I mean, I guess for Superman, it wouldn't be that far, but yeah, it is what it is. I am curious though, how kids react to this film. Because if a kid thinks it's cool, then I'm being a little harsh on it. But in the end, if this thing blows some 8-year-old's hair back, I still think if a little kid did see this and think it was cool, they would think the original Crisis is like way cooler. So that kind of is what it is. I mean, I kind of would have preferred if we got Jon Stewart in the kind of main timeline. But that's a bummer. We're gonna lose this Superwoman. She was one of my favorite parts of this film. I don't really like the choice of how she died. I feel like she would have kept fighting. Owlman doesn't really get much to do, and he's one of the better Crime Syndicate characters. But we've had other adaptations that do give Owlman some time. And that's the other thing. There are animated adaptations that we get quite a bit of Crime Syndicate, so it's not like we haven't seen them before either. So that's it'd be nice to see other Earths and other DC characters that we haven't seen adapted yet. See, that's why we should be seeing that on an Earth. Like, I mean, I don't say this because you should be once again there's no one's putting a gun to your head in terms of how the fidelity, in terms of how slavishly adherent you have to be to the source material. But I just think it's just a much better choice, especially in a visual medium. Um, that if you cut to a Earth with DC characters and you see the antimatter wave going through, that illustrates what it is. You could do that in a few panels. I think you could do it as little as 3, or you could do it in 5 or 6, or maybe 2 or 3 panels, then a splash. There's numerous ways to depict it, and that really doesn't take that much real estate. That this this animated feature is kind of clunky about it. So I don't know if anyone else had the experience, but this version of the monitor to me looks quite a bit like Vandal Savage. Uh, I wonder how it's going to play out in 2 and 3. Also, that essentially the idea of this think tank thing that the Monitor assembled all those heroes to figure out the tuning fork thing. Um, again, making him like more of an Utah the Watcher character, that he only watches, he does not interfere, and that the heroes, I guess it does give them more agency than in the source material, where it's the Monitor kind of telling them about the tuning fork things and how to stop the antimatter wave. Um, so I guess in that way it does give the heroes more agency. So I do see from a storytelling point of view how someone could make that argument. So finally, we got some heroes talking who are not from our the timeline that or the Earth that we originally saw. We got Mr. Terrific on some line, Hawkman. He definitely looks like the Monitor, but I don't know, maybe it's the mutton chops. That guy looks to me like Vandal Savage. Got the Metal Men, the background. Uh, this is what I come to Crisis on Infinite Earth for. That shot, all those different heroes. That's inside the Monitor ship. This is kind of this is what I want from this film. So I wonder if I didn't have preconceived notions. I'm trying to give it that grace, but at the same time, this is something that's very well known. So they have to know that there is an audience, significant portion of the audience that's coming into it with that context. So I like this here in terms of showing us what the antimatter wave does. It's a little bit of a hat and a hat, or a little redundant. I guess you gotta have the Monitor something to do. But really the explanation we see here what it does, and this is kind of what I was talking about. This is much more powerful, much more effective than the little explanation um, that we got on the Monitor's ship of what the antimatter wave does. The exposition dump with the little it's all animation, but the little kind of pseudo computer screen. I like Old Man Flash in the baggy costume. That's a good choice. And we got his best buddy, best robot buddy, Amazo. So yeah, this worked for me. Got good old Amazo, old robot head Amazo, and old Flash. I enjoyed that quite a bit. This was neat. Oh, he's encouraging. He's positive. He's a good friend, Amazo. he's still got something left in the tank. I like this could be just a mini series. The last days of the Flash. We got yeah, the head of Amazo and Old Man Flash in a basement. I think there's a lot of story potential here. This the design on this Aquaman. I know it's a pretty standard design. When he had the hook for the hand, but that forehead, the spread apart eyes. Uh, Whoever was drawing his face, I feel bad just beating up on this movie, but it doesn't do itself any favors. Knowing that Flash makes an amazing cup of coffee. It's now canon. We don't even see, and I guess maybe we'll see it in part two or part three, but the Monitor turning Supergirl into Harbinger. This is one of the more interesting choices I definitely see from a storytelling point of view. That the heroes come up with the plan of the tuning forks to kind of merge, or I guess at first it doesn't merge the heroes, it kind of just transports them into a space where they can't anti matter wave can't get them. The other thing again, I think I said at the very beginning is that Earth 146. We don't see many Earths. Earth 2, Earth 4. Crisis on half a dozen Earths. Now, who is the antagonist? Like, even because we're not introduced to the Anti-Monitor when they're assembling these towers. They're only obstacles time. They got to do it before the antimatter wave, which does provide some drama, but again, not advocating that they have to be slavish to the source material, but I think the choice in the source material is better. That there are physical enemies to battle to kind of preserve the tuning forks. Here the antagonist is old age. Arthritis is which is a serious antagonist, but generally in a superhero comic, is a little more punchy. And and I'm not an advocate that I've seen a lot of fight scenes, but in terms of an antagonist or an obstacle, I think we could have done better. Besides the line under the eyes, they could have done a little more to show the older Superman, like the graying on the temples. But this is interesting dialogue with an older Superman with a younger Superman. Oh, I'll give this movie credit for when it gets some stuff right. So yeah, see here, this is it's more in the vein of Superman Returns, where he has to end up just punching a big rock. He does in terms of fighting villains. You know, the unstoppable antimatter wave. They just have to assemble the towers before it gets there. But this is really the kind of part, the tr- take from the true. It's almost like it's like a James Bond film that they just take the title and then it's about something completely different. Which I think might have worked better than trying to kind of, sometimes you can't serve multiple masters. If you just want to kind of take the title and do your own thing, kind of a lot of the Marvel films do that. That's cool, but this kind of quasi, we're doing Crisis on Infinite Earths, but we're also doing a Flash movie, and that's I think where they run into trouble. See, this seems like this should all be at the very beginning of the film. Antimatter wave, stuff going crazy. Oh my god! Like that strikes me as something that like at an hour and 15 minutes in that we get, And again, if you want to do a Flash movie, you have Iris in jeopardy, Barry saving Iris. Very first few minutes of the movie, we learn what the antimatter wave is. He's comforting her. Harbinger shows up. Bing bang boom. We meet the Monitor. He needs Barry's speed to travel through Earth or time or what have you. So we could still do it where it's a very Flash centric film or story, but just kind of get into the Crisis stuff earlier and kind of make it more seamless. I think there is. You take another crack at it. I think you could make this work. What they're trying to do. They're adorable. I think they're not as good of a couple as Barry and Amazo, but old Barry and old Iris are. Uh, this is I think they pull this off, and in this very kind of big and bombastic story, kind of this intimate moment. And it's nice. The juxtaposition is nice, and I think also you got the kind of giant tower machine. So I think symbolically, and then literally you got the same thing of kind of this intimate story on the backdrop of this kind of crazy cosmic um, event. Almost imagine her saying, "Avenge me, Barry. Fuck those guys, Barry. Just let them die." I guess if she was Kevin Costner, maybe that's what she would say. Um, a lot of the static background. I don't think it was supposed to be. I want. Yeah. It was a. Oh man, I don't. Should I even release? I feel bad. It's just 90 minutes of pooping in this movie's mouth. So it's cool we got the Bat family team from multiple Earths. It'd be nice if we saw Helena Wayne's Earth, and if they gave him more of a older Robin distinctive, or we got a Nightwing, a Robin, a Red Robin. So I wonder. uh, did I miss something? Did did Older Barry assemble the tower, or did because the towers were an idea of all the assembled heroes at the Monitor's tower, or ship. Um, so is this one he constructed himself, and he just kind of knew that this would have to be done? Uh, yeah, it's like almost like, well, you need one more pass, one more draft at this thing to kind of shore up, kind of get everything to kind of click. You can see what they're trying to do, and it's just not quite there. So I think and that this is a kind of example of something that kind of works that's not kind of capture the spirit of the comic without being kind of slavish to the source material and the continuity. That the idea of you kind of Flash, you know, running and through that running, the thing he does, doing it so fast, so with such dedication that he sacrifices himself to save the universe. So I guess in the original source material, it's a tachyon beam thing, and he runs the opposite direction. We kind of have a similar thing where he's captain of the spirit of thing, the Run Barry Run that they capture so well in the Flash TV show. Um, So yeah, how because in the source material, explain, and the Monitor plays a role in all those Earths getting to kind of share that liminal space, kind of out of space and time, but we're just kind of there in this version. There's things that are kind of over-explained, and then there's some stuff that's kind of under-explained or like not even alluded to. So that's one of the things I didn't really get. It looked like it was implied that like these Earths didn't make it, but then we find out that they were successful. But I guess the very end cliffhanger ending shows that I guess not. So we're left with three Earths, even though we didn't really see many Earths. Like I said, Crisis on about 8 or so Earths. Um, we got three remaining. We had a kind of our undersea Earth where whatever kind of wackiness, I don't know, if, global catastrophe that the whole Earth is covered in water. Then we got two other kind of Earths, like an Earth 1 and Earth 2 type deal. And it looks like they were successful, but now we got a whole mess of Earths. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I need to watch it again, pay closer attention. And I do like, boom, we got the Spectre. Ah, faith. The judgment of God, talking about faith. And I think it'd been easier to kind of have the Spectre kind of the person moving through space and time, but it is what it is. I think you could have done maybe a Spectre Flash thing, where the Spectre is following Flash, because he needs to be connected to somebody, on the he needs a human. He can't make judgment without a human host. Hopefully this will get Old Flash and the head of Amazo back for part 2. That's nice. But people complain the Superman is hard to write because he's too powerful. Try the Spectre, the omnipotent kind of wrath of God. But he'll turn you into a glass of milk and then you'll spill over, or make you a popsicle and leave you on the sun in the sunlight. But I dig it. He's I believe I think it's a Joel Shuster, one of the two Superman creators, created the Spectre. Or is he a Jerry Siegel or a Joel Shuster character? But anyway, yeah, I mean he's a classic DC character, played a big role. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how his role gets expanded. So you got some interesting teases there. I mean, you didn't get much of a resolution, and a lot's left unexplained. I mean, but did this even play a role in the plot? Like, I mean, and then I totally missed who's the guy next to Warlord. That's something I completely missed. Who's the dude on the right? Huh. Yeah, I still don't get, who's the long-haired dude next to Warlord? I guess maybe find out part 2. I don't know. Is that Commandy? I don't know who the heck that's supposed to be. We're about wrapped up, but Barry still gets his wedding. So we got kind of our happy ending, or what we think our happy ending. Which, a cliffhanger or a turn, give you the unexpected. It is something that, is common, or, a tool that's often used in successful storytelling. But, people, I'm sure, no one intends to make anything bad, and I don't want to call this bad. It's obvious, people with time, money, resources, effort, their creativity, their hard work, and to be able to create something, this is still a remarkable work of art for all its shortcomings, and something that I could never come close to accomplishing. However, DC, if you do, or Warner Brothers Animation, if you need some writers, I would love to try, And we are back on the ship. Dr. Midnight, Hourman, we got some cool characters, some Justice Society characters. That's neat. But yeah, I guess they're saving this part for part 2 because a lot of the stuff with Psycho Pirate, he plays a pretty critical role in the source material, and he's kind of like Chekhov's Psycho Pirate. You show good in the first act, you better fire it by the end of the play. Well, what's going on? You guys show us what the deal with Psycho Pirate is? And here we got our Infinity War ending. It feels like, someone, uh, and I wonder if we're supposed to have a post-credit scene that would have been kind of like the first Avengers film where you see Thanos, and in the post-credits we got the Anti-Monitor, but there was no post-credit. But we kind of got this there's Dawnstar, give us her Avengers Infinity War ending. This is sweet. This is heartbreaking and sweet. Brainiac, he loves Kara. She loves him. It goes out. This film goes out of its way to make sure people aren't familiar with source material, kind of know what's going on and kind of connect to these characters, but don't really do much for the Brainiac Supergirl. That's one thing they don't kind of give the uninitiated a whole lot of context for. But that's Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths Part 1. Yeah, Part 2 and 3 coming out this year. Like I said, people tried really hard to give us something great, and I appreciate that. I like that you got the credits. You got Marv Wolfman, Jerry Ordway, Ron Thomas, Bob Kane, Bill Finger, Paul Levitt, Mike Grell. So we got a lot of people. J.R. Siegel, Joel Schuster. So that's cool that you got. And there's I apologize for the ones I missed, but that's awesome that the people that they're getting a lot better about giving credit to these wonderful creators. And maybe my expectations were different. One that that I'm used to DC kind of doing these kind of very faithful adaptations, and that also that I'm someone that's very familiar with the source material. Who knows preconceived notions, and also I'm a cynical middle-aged man, so results may vary, and they got me at least curious for Part 2 and Part 3. So that's the director's commentary for Justice League Crisis of Infinite Earths Part 1. As always, this is brought to you by Astounding Tales. Astounding Tales issue 0 and issue 1 out now. The Kickstarter for issue 2 is successful and funded, so that is on its way to the printer and should be available shortly and getting shipped to all the wonderful folks that supported the Kickstarter. So this has been Jake Reads Comics, and have a great week.